Do you remember what it feels like to be the favorite? Everyone expects you to win. The pressure is immense. And frankly, complacency starts to settle in like a comfortable blanket. It's easy to think that being the clear frontrunner is the ultimate advantage. But history tells a far more complicated story. Sometimes being the favorite is the biggest disadvantage you can carry into a competition. When you are expected to succeed, the motivation to innovate diminishes. Why change the winning formula? The true hunger is satisfied, and the drive to outwork the field fades. This is the hidden crisis of the established champion. The subtle erosion of will that comes from knowing you are already at the top. It is a position of defense, trying desperately to hold on to what you have, rather than aggressively pursuing what you could become. Now, consider the underdog, the dark horse, the one the pundits dismiss with a casual wave of the hand. They carry no expectations, no massive legacy to uphold, and they certainly carry no comfortable blanket of assured victory. They carry doubt, criticism, and the constant nagging refrain that they simply don't belong. But this doubt, this external dismissal, is precisely where the true advantage ignites. It is the purest form of fuel, clean-burning and relentless. Think of those legendary figures in the world of competitive cycling or marathon. Running who were consistently overlooked because they lacked the massive sponsorships or the established infrastructure of the leading teams. They couldn't rely on cutting-edge proprietary technology or unlimited training staff. Their resources were scarce, sometimes painfully so, but necessity, as it always does, became the mother of invention. Lacking the luxury of throwing money at a problem, they were forced to solve it with ingenuity and sheer force of will. They trained harder in unconventional ways, optimized their nutritional intake based on fundamental science rather than expensive supplements, built a mental fortitude that the pampered champions could never truly understand. They found competitive edges in optimizing sleep patterns and meticulous self-analysis, areas the heavily funded teams often ignored because they could simply replace a tired athlete. The underdog must become a student of the game, mastering not just the physical demands, but the strategy and the psychology of every single competitor they face. Their lack of resources was not a hindrance. It became a weapon forged in the fires of necessity. It created a singular focus, a terrifying determination born from the knowledge that every single opportunity might be their last. This principle is not confined only to sports. It scales perfectly to the world of competitive innovation and business. Consider the early startup enterprises entering established markets dominated by massive, well-funded corporate monoliths. These giants, the favorites, were often slow, burdened by bureaucracy, and utterly convinced that their market share was untouchable. They viewed the underdogs, the small, scrappy innovators, as mere annoyances, buzzing around the periphery. But while the established companies were busy protecting their existing product lines and maximizing short-term profits, the underdogs were experimenting, failing quickly, and pivoting rapidly. They couldn't afford a massive marketing budget, so they focused intensely on product quality and fostering a passionate community of early adopters who valued authenticity. They didn't have the internal resistance that comes with changing decade-old operating procedures, simply created new ones from scratch. This agility, this ability to change direction instantly without sacrificing immense capital, gave them a speed advantage that no amount of money could buy. Their small size, usually seen as a vulnerability, became the engine of their transformation. They didn't have to navigate endless departmental approvals to try a radical new approach to customer service or product distribution. They simply did it. The doubt they faced from investors, customers, and even their own families served as a constant, vibrating reminder that they had to prove themselves daily. This energy translated into outworking the competition, not by 20%, but by 200%. They took risks the market leaders wouldn't dare touch, precisely because losing the risk meant a manageable setback, not the collapse of a multi-billion-dollar empire. They used their status as outsiders to challenge the core assumptions of the entire industry. When everyone expects you to fail, you gain the purest form of freedom, the freedom to surprise. You can redefine the rules of engagement, because you are not bound by the traditions that the established favorite must respect. The underdog advantage isn't about being weaker or having less. It's about leveraging the psychic energy that comes from having everything to gain and nothing. significant to lose except the approval of those who never believed in you anyway. It is the inherent motivation to prove every single detractor wrong, fueled by the cold clarity of being underestimated. This process transforms external doubt into internal certainty. Every skeptical glance, every dismissive article, every closed-door reach one is converted into measurable output, into extra hours spent refining the craft, into the unwavering commitment to excellence. It forces a relentless introspection. Where are we weak, and how can we turn that weakness into a counterintuitive strength? The favorite asks, how do we maintain this position? The underdog asks, how do we completely demolish the existing structure? There is a profound difference in outcome between defensive maintenance and aggressive offensive creation. The underdog is always on offense, using their lower perceived status as camouflage until the precise moment they strike. This hidden strength lies not in resources, but in hunger. It is the willingness to sacrifice comfort for the sheer possibility of victory. If you currently find yourself in a position where the odds are stacked against you, where your resources feel inadequate, and where the world seems determined to count you out, understand this: you are holding the advantage. You have been given the most potent fuel imaginable, the power of doubt. Do not reject that doubt. Use it as your constant companion, your brutal taskmaster, and your ultimate source of energy. Let it sharpen your focus, harden your resolve, and inspire innovations that the complacent favorites would never even conceive. Transform that whispered cynicism into roaring success. If you are ready to use the pressure of being the outsider to forge an unstoppable inner strength, subscribe to Motivational Repo right now. We specialize in turning external disbelief into tangible, world-changing results. Don't just survive the doubt. Use it as the catalyst for your greatest achievement.